All right, this is our introduction to transformations. I'll show you the paper that we're going to be using today. So this is our paper that we're going to be using today. It says transformation examples. So these transformations are also loaded in Desmos here. That link is on your, put my face up here so you can see. That link is going to be on Canvas, so if you need that. And I want to just go through Desmos and take a look at some things that are happening with this graph as we move it around. So this is our parent function here. I'm going to say that like our vertex is at 0, 0, right? So that's our vertex right now, is at 0, 0. Now we're going to look at what happens when we go through these transformations. When we have a number inside these parentheses, that's going to be this one here, when it says x minus 2. So we're just going to compare this red and green graph. What happens to the function when you put a 2 inside, a negative 2 inside? So it's going to go, I'm going to put a little note here on my paper. It's going to go right 2. So my vertex moves from 0, 0, and now it's at 2, 0. So all of my points, like this 1, 1, it's going to move over 2 spaces to the right. So there's my new transformation. Now, if you're feeling like you could go into Desmos and do all this, you don't have to watch the rest of the video. If you're still a little bit sketchy, you can watch the rest of the video and fill it out with me. So we're going to say what it does. I know this tells us adjust the domain, state the domain and range for each transformation. But what I want us to state is the vertex and what's happening to the function, right? So it's going to go right to, up or down, shrink or stretch, and then where the new vertex is. So let's look at this second one. So I'm going to take this green one off, put this orange one on. So this +1, notice that the -2 goes right to, this +1 goes left 1. So now my vertex is at -1, 0. So my vertex now is at, -1, 0. And all my points are going to just move over 1 spot from that parent function there. If you recognize this is our absolute value parent function. Great job recognizing that. It just has a domain restriction, so it doesn't go to infinity for your domain. Right, here's our next one. Take this orange one off, and we're going to go down to the absolute value of x minus 1. So look, it's outside of the parentheses. When it's outside of the parentheses, it's going to go down 1. So my new vertex is at 0, -1. So it's going down 1. All of my other points are following in line with it. My main concern is going to be that vertex. Where's the vertex moving? All right, let's take this purple one off and put on number 4, x plus 2. Look at that. So look at this. Outside of the parentheses, it follows this sign, down 1. Outside of the parentheses, it follows this sign. This goes up 2. So I'm looking at my vertex from 0, 0 from the original function. My vertex moved up 2 along with all of the other points in that function. All right, let's flip it to the other side. And we have, I guess this one doesn't have a number. Oh, well. Oh, this is the original function. That's why it doesn't have the number. I just realized that. All right, next one, we have a negative in front. Let's see what this negative value does to our function. Here it is. Oh, it's a reflection over the x-axis, or a horizontal reflection. I'm going to say reflect over x-axis. And so what does that do to our vertex? Well, it looks like our vertex didn't change. Our vertex stayed the same at 0, 0. All right, let's look at number 6. What happens when we put a 2 inside next to the parentheses? So I'll take this red one off. Here we go. It's a blue one. Oh, look at that. And this is called a vertical stretch. Vertical stretch. it's stretching up with that y-axis. Doesn't change the vertex. Still at 0, 0, but it does change. Oh, I didn't even put these on here, did I? Let me go back. Fulfill my duties here. Didn't do what I was supposed to do. All right. One more. So this one is a vertical stretch. I'm going to check the points here just to make sure that I have good points. So I'm at -2, 4. -1, 2. 0, 0. So my vertex is still the same. 1, 2, and 2, 4. So think about what that did to our y values. Now before our y values were in line with our x values, right? 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. This one, it's double. That's what that 2 does. It's a vertical stretch and it's a factor of 2. All right, so let's look at this next one. I'll get rid of this table. We don't need that anymore. We'll do 1/2. So if the 2 in front stretched it along that y-axis, what do you think this 1/2 does compared to the original function? Looks like it makes it fatter. It squishes it. So this is a vertical shrink. And we have a factor of 1/2. So I'm going to look at the table to see what it did to our y values. You notice our x values stayed the same, but our y values were cut in half. So our vertex is still at 0, 0. And then our y values got cut in half. So that means that it was -2, 1. 1, -1, 1/2, 1, 1/2, and 2, 1. So it got fatter, it looks like. What about 3 and -3? I didn't see those. 1.5. All right, so that one's pretty cool. So the 2 in front, multiplying it stretches it. The 1/2 shrinks it about that y-axis. All right, what happens here when it's outside? So for these, it's going to look very similar. It's going to do the very same thing. So let's see, put our table up. Yeah, they're the same values. -2, 4, -1, 2. Our vertex is, our vertex is still the same at 0, 0. Making sure I have these correct before I put that down. Vertex, 0, 0. And this is a vertical stretch again. All right, so what do we think is going to happen with this one? Probably the same thing as that other 1/2. Yep, it's going to make it fatter about that x-axis, so it's going to shrink it. So we call this a vertical shrink. And our vertex here is still at 0, 0. Vertical shrink, and our vertex is at 0, 0. So we'll take some more notes during class about this, but this just kind of gives you an introduction on what numbers next to it do. So notice that when you have a number multiplied here, it doesn't necessarily change the vertex, but it does change the stretch, shrink, or reflection. However, on the first page, if you notice, if you're adding or subtracting numbers inside the parentheses or subtracting or adding outside, it's going to move it left or right and down and up. So just take a notice of that, and we'll take some more notes on that on this in class.